guilty of crime.
Hello, everybody. What's up? Hopefully, you guys can hear me okay. Got my settings ready to go. I'm Jay with Guilty of Crime, and we're back. Happy almost Friday. I'll take the happy Thursday, Tony. How you doing, my friend? Good to see you, Coco Cutie. Miss Toddy, how you doing, my friend? Lisa Lynn, Val Ventura, the Pagliarini family. What's up? Good to see you. Today's gonna be wild because we're tying in the Stephan Stearns case and how predators stick together. And we're gonna look at Never a Truer Word, which breaks down one of Stephan Stearns' friends that said he was normal. Is he also a predator, a chomo, a pedo? That's what we're talking about today. And before we get into that, we need to look at Florida and in particular Osceola sheriffs. There's some new article that came out, and this is much bigger, guys. This is so much bigger than just Stephan Stearns. It's also about the people that created the content and shared it with Stephan, traded it with Stephan, sold it or bought it from Stephan. So today we're talking about predators. Do predators stick together? And once I talk about the predators and the bust and the operations that I've been having over the last year and up until today, especially, I gotta say, once you guys see this and then you hear Stearns' friend talk about him, it gives a whole new meaning to the people in Florida and the bigger picture of where the CSAM and the trafficking and the abuse is coming from, along with the arrest. And of course, Sheriff Grady's involved in all of that because it's Florida. So I didn't want to just focus on one thing at hand. I wanted to focus on a bigger problem that I know Florida has, in particular in that particular area, because that area is near Disney, right? There's a lot of Disney predators that go to work for Disney because they know there's going to be children that they can easily target, groom, take pictures of, maybe under the door, maybe under a skirt, maybe under. I mean, it's a huge problem. I'm gathering the information today, and I'm like, my goodness! Sent me something about Roblox, which we know one of Maddie's music teachers got arrested for enticing males on Roblox for them to get coins and then show off things for, we'll call it actual favors, right? The CSAM stuff. So, no, it's absolutely much bigger than you guys probably even think of as we're just talking, when we just focus on one person or two, like Stearns and his friend. What brings somebody like Stearns together with the people that he hangs out with? Was Santa included in that? Was Santa? Did they find a connection? Why are there so many more busts? Now there's 111 people that hit 111 right now as you guys roll in. So do me a favor, hit that like button, say a prayer for all the children that have been abused, are being abused, or are going to be abused, because abuse happens every day. If we pulled out the statistics, you would see what I mean. It's horrible. No one wants to face that. But when we talk about this, there's a much bigger picture to what's going on here. And I would have to say, I'd have to think that law enforcement took into consideration the other people that were involved in this type of crime, including Jennifer Sodto. What did she have on her phone? Was there a shared hard drive that she had access to, but she says she didn't? I mean, this CSAM's coming from somewhere. Where did the 35,000 images come from? They weren't all Maddie. So that's what we need to talk about. There's a much bigger picture in trafficking, CSAM, what they call child P. I mean, there was just a case right in Florida a couple days ago that I wanted to share with you, where a Florida principal's teenage son was charged with possessing CSAM. Now, they didn't call it CSAM, they called it child P. So how do you get past that? How do you get people to see a bigger problem? And not only see a bigger problem, guys, how do you get people to cover this topic when you can't even say the proper words? That's what bothers me, because I can't even say exactly what I want to say without being demonetized, without YouTube saying, I don't want you sharing this information. I don't want you talking about child P. I don't want you talking about CSAM. I don't want you talking about trafficking. I don't want you saying those words. You got to spell out sex. You can't even say sex, right? So yeah, I mean, we're absolutely not forgetting about the CSAM that was created by Stephan Stearns, but let's not look into chat and attack somebody. We don't need to come at somebody. We don't need to come at Deb in chat and say, look at what Deborah's son did, Stephan Stearns. We know what Stephan Stearns did. And yes, Stephan Stearns' mom and dad are Chris and Deborah Stearns, but I will not tolerate anybody coming into chat and attacking somebody like that. Stephan Stearns stands on his own. Stephan Stearns is now facing 21 life sentences. He's never going to get out, but we don't need to say Stephan Stearns and then direct that at Deb, because I will not keep you here in chat if you come in and you start attacking. Okay, we know Stephan Stearns stand on his own. We know Stephan Stearns created his own CSAM, possibly sold it with Jen Sodto. That's not being denied by anyone. As a matter of fact, Chris Stearns handed over a drive that had a ton of CSAM on it. So don't let me see you people doing that, because I'm watching chat and this is not tolerated by anybody. All right, if someone starts coming in a chat and saying my nephew's name, my nephew robbed somebody, and then throwing Jay's nephew into the mix. No, his name is not my name. So we're not going to do that. You will be out of here. I promise that. You got in one snide comment. Let me catch a second or third, and you guys are just going to be gone. Because we know that. We know that Stephan Stearns is Deb Stearns' son, obviously. I'm glad you can read. I'm glad you can put facts together. But we don't attack people here. All right. People are just attacking because they think it's funny or cute. No, it's not. Let's focus on a bigger picture at hand. And that's what we're doing here today. So Sheriff Grady, right? Sheriff Judd, whatever you guys call him. Prayers to Sadie's mom. What's up, Pink Stars? How you doing? You guys do me a favor to support the channel. It's free. Just hit that like button, subscribe, and then share, because this is a bigger problem, and a lot of content creators don't want to cover it because YouTube doesn't like certain words. But because YouTube doesn't like certain words, does it mean that we shouldn't talk about it? Does it mean that we should pretend like there weren't 150 busts, 150 people just the other day that got arrested for creating CSAM, producing it, selling it, trading it? That's my question to you. And who else around Stearns and Sodto should be or should have been arrested in that? And are they coming at him now? All right. And yes, ask Stephan what he knows about megalinks. And we can't ask him about that because I don't think he's going to talk right now. Although I'd at some point like to talk to him direct and hope that he will be very direct about what happened and who. He certainly won't answer if I say, you're a monster piece of trash and I'm going to stomp on your parents. But we don't want to learn about the mind of course we want to learn about it. We want to know all about it so we can do more busts. All right. And yeah, code words. I can use code words all day, but it doesn't address this problem at hand. No, I've never covered the Santa case because I just didn't need to. I was wrapped up in this, and a lot of people ask, is it incorporated? Do you think they're involved? Do you think Stearns ever stopped by there with Maddie? That's a big question. We'll have to look into that. If my team wants to help me put something together, I'd be happy to cover the Santa case. It's a much bigger than just Santa. All right. And yeah, this is a safe space for everyone, including Deb and Chris. Anybody that's here. I don't care even if I don't like you. I'm not going to let my chat attack you. Okay. So if I don't like you personally, I'm still not going to attack you. We can talk on the outside and then we can attack each other, but not here. All right. So yeah, let's do that. And absolutely, there's anger during investigations. People are pissed. What's up, Sassy Theory? Good to see you, my friend. All right. I did not hear anything about that ever, One Love. That's a total speculation. I've never, ever heard that. And if I had, I would have covered it. So I'm going to have to say no for right now until I look into it further. I don't think so. All right. So let me just read what you said. People keep asking about that damn watch. Deb says we found the Omega and we sold it to help pay jail bills. He'll never wear it again. And Chris and I like eye watches. Okay, there you go. There's the answer to that watch question, which I don't particularly care about. I'm more interested in helping the people and children and parents recognize what CSAM is and how directly connected your children may be to trafficking rings, online trafficking, CSAM. That's what we're talking about today. I don't like getting hung up on nonsense. So that's why I tell it how I see it and we keep going. Yeah, I don't believe much about I don't believe everything on TikTok. He was with a Santa, but I don't think it was the Santa. I don't either, because we would have definitely covered that by now. And the Rolex was found the Rolex from my dad too. Great. So the Rolex was found. Omega was sold. Rolex, I assume, is still with you. All right. What's up? Good to see you. Good to see all of you rolling in. Hashtag where's the Rolex? Hashtag I'm going to assume it's still with the Stearns parents. What's up? Good to see you guys. Don't forget, hit that like button on your way in, guys. That's how we keep the channel going. Foxy Amazon, thank you for the gifted membership for 20 in memory of your brother, Christopher. And I hope your day gets better. All right. So let's keep getting into this. On a whole, predators stick together. Why do predators stick together? Well, they need to produce CSAM. They need to sell it. They need to know who else produces it, who else sells it. That's why there's such a major problem. But I gotta say, there's gotta be something in all of this. When they arrested Stephan and they got the hard drive and they emptied the cloud, there had to be connections to people that were making and producing a larger amount of CSAM. You don't get 35,000 photos over years all by yourself. All right. There's just no way. All right. Now, let me take a look at this here. Osceola Sheriff's Internet Crimes Unit fighting child predators. This was from this morning, Thursday, August 14, 2025. I want to thank the local Florida people that keep me updated on a lot of the crime that happens in Florida, in particular the CSAM, the human trafficking, all of that stuff. So thank you for sending that to me. Sassy, good to see you. Hoaxburg. You're glad it cleared. What? I don't know what that means, guys. All right. Tracy, good to see you, my friend. Were Stephan and Jen making money from CSAM off Maddie? Where did they get the money to live without working? Exactly. Adrian. Oh, Profe Frere. Is that you, Profe? All right. Telegram has answer. Absolutely. Telegrams has answers. Allie, Callie, good to see you. I like you. I like all of you. I just don't like people that are disrespectful. If you don't like somebody, don't talk to them. We all went to high school, right? I'm sure you didn't like everyone in high school or at the prom or wherever the heck you went. There's a lot of people I don't like. I just don't talk to them. I don't go to their channels if I don't like them. All right. Simple. I made a post. If you don't like what's on my channel, keep going. All right. Absolutely, Nets World. Abso-freaking-lutely. I think I'm going to change a lot of your minds today or convince you exactly that associated with a ring. I just don't see how. All right. I just don't see how. Still happens in the USA, though, a lot. I'm going to show you. I'm going to give you a bunch of freaking examples of what's going on. And we're not even talking about the USA, Clementine. We're talking about just Florida. People go on vacation to Florida to Disney World while they're producing and selling and trading CSAM. They literally don't even go to Disneyland to enjoy Disney. I'm telling you right now, I was reading all this on the way in, and I'm like, my goodness, they purposely use Disney World as a way to meet these people that they're trading or doing deals or exchanging human trafficking. I'm telling you, it's not good. Had I even known that, I probably would never even gone to Disney World, and it makes me think twice about Disneyland. All right. So thank you for coming in here. Good to see you guys. Yeah, it's disgusting. And I didn't know that. And like I said, if you ever get a chance to talk to a pedo, and I say get a chance to talk to a pedo because it really is. I watch Mandu and it gives me a lot of thoughts about how these people think. And it's a good way to avoid them and keep up on what's happening with your kids' friends, etc., etc. Now, regardless, Cal Gal says, regardless what Stephan did or didn't do, I'm sorry about the horrible impact that it's had on the parents and sisters and the community and Stephan's friends. Everybody else that didn't do it is a victim. Anybody else that had nothing to do with this and it affected them in a negative way is a victim. Okay. It's disgusting. It's sickening. And I've never changed that. You'll never change my mind. I still think that you just get a old firing squad and shoot them right in the crotch. They're not I don't think that they ever get rehabilitated. I've listened to a lot of pedos talk, and they'll tell you if they get a chance to reoffend, they absolutely will. Those thoughts do not go away. They just are able to put them aside until they get a chance for the next victim. All right. All right. Yeah. Disney is way expensive. I know. It's crazy. It's wild. We took baby Guilty there for her 9th birthday, and we spent 10 grand on just a few days. And they weren't even that nice. They were there bugging us the whole time at Disney with some stupid rules that they had. So, yeah, that's that. Teresa, love your passion, Jay. You're my kind of person. Well, thank you. Thank you. If I'm not your kind of person, guys, keep on trucking, all right? I'm not for everybody. I know that. I've known that before I started streaming, and I know that after. All right. And we did talk about all this the other day, folks. There were no red flags, so to speak, about Stephan's pedo behaviors. Nothing that Deb could have said, we should have done this or we should have done that. Everything that's been done, she said, stop sleeping in the bed with Maddie. Jen, you should, whatever she said, scolded them. They didn't listen. All right. They didn't listen. And we're going to be covering Jen Sodto with call-ins tomorrow. So 10 grand under the Mystic Moon. Easy 10 grand. No joke. No joke. Easy peasy. That was the year before our roof fell in, by the way. All right. So don't get that twisted. That was baby Guilty will be 11. That was for her 9th birthday. Right after we came back from her 9th birthday a few months later, our roof fell in. All right. And all of you beautiful people supported me mentally, and a few people helped out to go from hotel to hotel. But let me tell you, it didn't nothing costed near what a roof and the whole house took. So that's another chapter. All right. Nettie says, you seem like someone I would be friends with in real life. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. You think Walt was a pedo too? Who knows, man? We could probably look into that someday. All right. Let's take a look at this real quick. Osceola Sheriff's internet crimes unit fighting. And I'm telling you, they've got to have some other connections with all of those 35,000 images and the all the apps that Stephan was using, all the people he was talking to, all the communities he was working with. They have had to find something that's connected with the pictures. There's no way. All right, so there you go. There's a picture of the unit, the Osceola Sheriff's Internet Crimes Against Children Unit, Detective Mark. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to name all of them right now, but there you go. A nice group of people, and I hope they're a nice group of people trying to make sure that your children and my children are safe in the internet against sex crimes. All right. All right, guilty of crime. I know you and I would be great friends if we lived closer, right? And I think a lot of you would. I'm super passionate about what I do here, but when we're hanging out and I'm not talking about true crime or something that I'm like fired up, I'm pretty chill. I'm chill until I'm not. All right. All right. So that group of people, bless them. Bless those people for doing what they do. All right. Now listen, this is perfect. This is perfect. I'm going to read this to you real quick. Cockroaches. I always say that when predators come out, they're like cockroaches, all right? Yeah, Jen Sodto's still alive. Jen Sodto's not arrested yet. Tomorrow we're going to talk about what Jen Sodto had to do with Stephan Stearns and Maddie and her life being taken and the CSAM. Jen Sodto's still running around in Florida somewhere, or should I say hiding in Florida somewhere. All right, Truth Finder, good to see you. All right, check this out. We're talking about cockroaches right now. This is what they say. Like cockroaches in dark corners, child predators are multiplying at an alarming rate across Central Florida. Now, take this. It's not just about Florida, it's about everywhere. All right. Fighting back against this trend is the Osceola County Sheriff's Office 5-person internet crimes ICAC unit dedicated to confronting some of the most horrific abuses imaginable. Now, what is odd about this is that Stephan was never flagged, for having this CSAM, lots of this CSAM, not only having it, but he produced it. He produced a ton of CSAM, and they had pictures of Maddie's face in it, or they wouldn't have been able to show Jen Sodto pictures of Maddie being assaulted with her face and recognizable body parts of Stearns. Everybody, please say happy birthday to Mo. Happy birthday. Shout out to you. Thank you. You didn't have to do that with the $2 super chat, but happy birthday. Everybody, do me a favor and wish Mo a happy birthday. Happy birthday to my fellow Leo. All right. For drawing a sketch that's awesome, Coco. Awesome. Yeah, happy birthday, y'all. Whoever's birthday or birthday month, happy birthday. All right. Okay, listen. Now, this is in Florida. I'm surprised nothing was being flagged that was coming from the IP address of Jen Sodto and Stephan Stearns. The team in Florida includes 3 detectives, a digital forensic investigator, a civilian crime analyst who handles suspect research, background checks, and SWAT support. The unit conducts both reactive and proactive investigations, responding to tips from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. There you go, Foxy. If you can drop the link for NCMEC, that's who we want to donate to. Also conducting undercover stings in which detectives pose as minors online to catch predators in the act. Now, abuse tips are skyrocketing. Osceola serves as the point agency for 17 Florida counties, acting as a clearinghouse for cyber tips routed from NCMEC. All right, Sergeant Kyle Glynn leads Osceola's unit and has handled 4,000 to 5,000 cyber tips alone in 2021. Now, this year, the number is expected to skyrocket, guys, to about 30,000 with several contributing factors. Easy access to the internet and the explosion of new social media platforms. Population growth. Florida's a very popular area. So obviously, the more popular, the more crime, he said. Back in the day, everybody used to be scared of the guy in the white van that hung around the park, right? The creepy pedo in a white van. Now that guy is now online posing as a minor, all right, with little cartoon emoji or icons, whatever. And we're talking about the guy that looks acting like he's 12 or 13 with a fake account. And the minors think they're talking to someone they know that they can relate to. Cyber tips start with the internet service provider, which is awesome because they got to check IP addresses, and tech companies such as Meta, Instagram, TikTok, and WhatsApp, all right, which are required by federal law to report suspected child exploitation. Here we go again with NCMEC. they forward the tips to the appropriate ICAC task force around the country. All right. Glenn says his unit prioritizes cases in which suspects have direct access to children. Everybody thinks these guys are overseas, but they're not. They're in your backyard as well. All right. Are you guys with me here? This is a much bigger problem than Stephan Stearns and Jen Sodto, but it also starts with Stephan Stearns and Jen Sodto, and then it reaches to Stephan's friends, Stephan's community, Stephan, the people that Stephan played with. That's what we're going to talk about today. All right. Good to see you guys. Thank you for coming in. Lady for Justice, thank you for the $1.49 super sticker. All right. Worst of the worst. Now, listen, parents must be vigilant. To catch the worst offenders, detective must sift through highly disturbing material involving victims as young as infants, guys. These people have to look at infants and young children being abused. Before joining that ICAC, every detective is exposed to child, we'll call it CSAM, to gauge whether they can handle their emotions or not. All right. Now, this person recalls the first time they saw a baby being actually exploited. Those are the things you'll never forget. So they had to expose these people to the things that they needed to see, nasty, awful things that will give you nightmares before they could even work in this field. Right now, predators use social media to gather the intimate details about their targets. They know what they're into, they know what school they go to, and they know the information about you. Now, we already urge parents to supervise online activity as close as possible, watch their children in the park, recommend tools like the Bark app to monitor and block harmful content. All right. So I'm not going to read this entire article, but I am going to say worst of worst, parents have to be vigilant. Second thing, see something, say something. It literally says that right here. See something, say something, do something. All right. But the work is so traumatic, the sheriff officers require each unit member to meet annually with a mental health professional. They also ensure no one works on abuse material during the final hours of the day, giving them time to decompress before going home. All right. We know how it affects people. It's affected me. It's affected you. It's affected a lot of people just with the Madeline Soto case and having to read the things that went on with Jen Sodto, Stephan Stearns, and Maddie, which we don't know about Jen Sodto just yet. Right now, even if you save one child from being abused, it's worth it for them, for us, for you. And NCMEC, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, is the main hub point for these units to tip things and work together and get their information. All right. So I wanted to show you guys that. Let me pull that down. I want to show you this. I want to show you a couple things, and then we'll get into analyzing those words. But there's no point to even do this unless I show you what's happening and why. All right, good to see you, sweet butter. Haven't seen you in a minute. Glad you're here. And Curly Blue, thank you so much for the $2 super chat. Jay, never change. Thank you. I don't think I will, my friend. I think I just turned 46 years old, and I don't know if I'm going to change, but I might just change for the better. All right. Now, we do know she was at least negligent, but we also got to say neglect resulting in death. Would you agree? Follow the yellow brick road? All right. And there should be. Maria, why isn't there one? Why that actually is a law that you can't do that, and you can't hand your daughter over or knowingly, but she's playing dumb and they never caught on to her, or maybe they're building a case right now and we don't know. What's up, Chief Rocka? Good to see you, my friend. Chief says, just like Jay, hit that like button, subscribe, and buy the Guilty of Crime Boyfriend a membership and yourself. Guilty of Crime Boyfriend needs to be green. All right. But doesn't she work hard at looking dumb? Doesn't she? Yeah, she does. Not me. I wouldn't do it. And besides, the sex thing isn't a sin. I could not believe what she said. Yeah, she said that the sex thing was not evil. Remember that? Remember that note? Remember that? Don't you think they should arrest her alone on trying to save Stephan from being arrested and handing her daughter over and saying that the sex crimes were not evil? And yeah, Jay, I agree with this right here. It was a way to make money, and I think that she absolutely was in on it. I do, in my opinion. All right. Yeah, very shocking statement. All right, let's take a look just real quick. Again, you know what we're talking about today. This one says over 150 people arrested in Florida, human trafficking, but it's not just human trafficking. This also has to do with producing the CSAM, making the CSAM, trading the CSAM, trading the money, connecting people. So I'm trying to fast forward through the parts that say these awful words that I can't, but just take a look at this for a moment. Entertain this.
To show them all. 157 people arrested, some of them still sitting in the Polk County Jail. The suspects range in age from 61 to just 15 years old.
We do these operations to save the victims.
Polk County investigators working in conjunction with law enforcement agencies in Lake and Osceola County say nearly 100.
And look at that. We're just rolling past these pictures, guys. Stephan Stearns isn't in those pictures because he's in jail, locked up. And yes, there is a petition to arrest Jen Sodto. I don't know what good that's doing, but if it makes you feel good, it made me feel good to go ahead and sign that petition. So there is, if one of the mods wants to drop it. If not, I'll put in the petition to arrest Jen Sodto when I'm done here.
Of the suspects were arrested for soliciting a prostitute. But perhaps the most disturbing was the one who they say was arrested for human trafficking.
Usually it's remarkably difficult.
There's your boy, guys.
The human trafficker, but we did this time. We also rescued 4 potential victims of human trafficking that admitted it up front.
And social service agencies were on hand to help in hopes of saving them from a life that could have destroyed them permanently.
We offer these services not only to the individuals who are able to be identified immediately as human trafficking survivors, but also those who are not ready to identify, those who are not ready to exit a life of sexual exploitation.
The sheriff said today of those arrested.
All right, so I'm just giving you guys a few examples here. Here's another one from the other day that I was pretty sure that I wanted to share with you guys. And although I'm not doing a full episode, I want you to see this. I mean, this guy, Florida principal's teen son charged with possessing CSAM, right? I'm not going to play this whole thing. I'm just showing you what I'm talking about. And all of these people that are intertwined into it have connections by the apps that they have and the images that they produce and the people that they traffic. So I want you to know Polk County, Osceola, Sheriff Grady, all of this is a bigger picture than just this guy or the 150 people you just saw or Stearns. And I wonder what connection Jen Sodto has to this. All right. What does she have to this? I don't know. I'm not sure, sweets. All right. Thank you, Leanne, for becoming a member. I appreciate that, my friend. All right, I'm just going to show you this real quick. I don't want to get into the details of this too much, but this is a Florida principal teen son that was brought into the school, and look at him.
He's 18 and just graduated from Gulf Breeze High School in Milton, Florida. That's in Santa Rosa County in the Panhandle. Last January, the Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Office started investigating McChesney. Detectives say they found a user on the social media messaging platform Discord. The user was named Literal Loaf of Bread, and detectives said there were 3 uploads.
And see, that's what makes me wonder how Stephan and Jen, and I'm just going to say that, Stephan and Jen, because I'm not, in my opinion, Jen still needs to be charged. She needs to be charged for saying that the sex thing wasn't evil and that Maddie was going to run away with Stephan and her letting Stephan come out of the bathroom naked and sleep with her daughter. I think she should be arrested for that. But this whole thing shows you the interconnectivity of these predators that are doing multiple levels of crime, starting from producing CSAM to selling to trading. I don't know why Jen Sodto and Stephan Stern, the condo that they lived in, I don't know how they got past that IP address where there was being CSAM exchanged and created. It doesn't make sense. And Discord, it sucks because Discord is one of the major hubs for children to go in order to play these games and talk to their friends. Why is that? Why? I just can't understand how the same platform that YouTube creators use to talk to their people are the same platform that children use to talk to their friends. It doesn't make sense. All right? It doesn't. All right. Let's keep going. We got a lot to get into today.
One of those uploads, according to detectives, showed 2 girls between the ages of 7 and 9 who were engaged in a sex act. It's absolutely disgusting. Detectives wrote, the IP address is listed.
All right, I'm just going to read this instead of having her do it. I just want you to see arrest after arrest after arrest after operation after arrest. It's wild. And Telegram is, they just didn't name that right now. So how come Jen Sodto's IP address stayed so, how come it stayed so quiet? How come they didn't find that? Do you think that that was on the radar and they just didn't say anything? Now, the IP address is listed to belong to, in this case, Extreme in the Gulf Breeze region, the phone number listed, and it belonged to Verizon to a Kimberly in Pensacola. Now, on 3/26/2025, do you guys know what date that is? 3/26/2025, a year after Maddie went missing. It says, I received the Discord search warrant returning to the further review, which provided listed under the sessions folder in the account information on the cyber tip. It said, I began looking through the DM folder, meaning direct message. And in the folder, they name it. This user had received a message from, they give you the name, Red Mirror Cat, asking, are you here for the stuff? The user states, yeah, but I wanted to preview it before I paid for anything. The user also offered to trade one picture for one picture until he obtains more content to trade. Now, on 1/28/2025, Red Meerkat sends an attachment to the folder identified as CSAM. All right. So there you go. Absolutely, my friend. Good to see you. How you doing? All right. I mean, does anyone here use Telegram? A lot of people do for businesses. I don't use Telegram, but I don't use a lot of the apps. All right. And that's another thing. Yeah, Jen Sodto did want to be a hacker. Absolutely. She did. You're right. You're 110% right about her wanting to be a hacker, is what she called it, and wanting to go to school, although she never did anything to be able to do that. All right. So that's wild there. So that gives you even more. All right. Also, Stephan saying he didn't start it. He did not participate, as we know, but who started? He didn't not participate, but who started it, Jen? I'm not convinced it wasn't availability. I don't believe he was out trolling for kids. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think trolling for kids, but I think it's very easy to pick your phone up. Right? I think it's very easy to pick your phone up and troll for kids in that way. You don't have to leave the house. You don't have to leave your chair. You don't have to leave the AC to go on here and do what you see this guy doing right here, asking for a picture of CSAM, but I don't want to pay for it. I just want a little preview to make sure I'm going to get what I want. All right. Give away a small Jen Sodto themed item. All right. Let me know what that means in chat, Tiff. Sharon, I hope you're doing okay, my Leo twin. How you doing? So, Tiff, I just saw you message me something. Let me know what you mean by that. If you can put in chat what you mean by a Jen Sodto themed giveaway. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm trying to read. So there we go. All right. I don't know. I do not know, but I think I give you guys a few examples of what's going down in this. There's some more. Matthew stated, this is a guy that got arrested. I informed him my investigation was in regards to Discord and if he'd be willing to share his account information, which he was, and he pulled out his phone, he pulled out his Discord account and stated his account name. He did lose access to account, but could not remember when. Then they read off his phone number, email, and account, which confirmed all the information. I asked if he knew his account was flagged, which he stated he believes it was. And he told them because he was sharing pictures of young people. The people he shared and traded images with were unknown to him, and he never met anyone in person. He stated that there's going to be CSAM on his phone and desktop computer. Right at that time, his cell phone was seized. There you go. Anyway, this is a Florida principal teen that's doing CSAM between 7 to 9-year-olds. Right? I mean, this guy doesn't look like a harm to you, right? Absolutely.
Tornadoes, canine 5-1 testing. So my partner's going to search you. Just make sure you don't have any weapons or anything like that on you, and we'll do our best to explain what's going on. Okay. Okay. When do you ready to go?
I don't know.
Do you have anything on you that's going to like stick, stab, poke me, or anything I need to worry about? No. Okay.
I was trying to
30 minutes later, I spoke with Santa Rosa County.
All right, so I just wanted you guys to see this is Florida, and more Florida. All right, and then I did a search on CSAM busts, CSAM, and I try to keep it as CSAM, but they call it other stuff, right? CSAM busts in Florida, and every day. I mean, did you guys see the big bust today? Sheriff Grady with the Fent. Did you guys see the biggest bust in history that they said today was for Fent? All right, so I just did a search of Florida, and it's just let me put actually, I gotta put the right words because it doesn't. They don't use CSAM. We're trying to change it to make sure everybody's using CSAM, but it doesn't happen that way. All right, let me just show you real quick off the top of everything. I did a search on child CP. I tried CSAM and nothing came up, guys. So I did child CP bus, and there you go. At the very top was Florida principal teen, and then the next one, child CSAM, but they don't call it that. Full news conference, arrests in international child P. This was in Tampa on Monday, and then another one, Florida, more Florida, Florida, lots of busts. Faces of Evil, Florida announces global child abuse bust ring. I mean, this is all Florida, guys. There it is. There's your guy. 8 people arrested, 1,200 child PORN. I mean, look at that, man. There's a full press conference. There was one of an ugly woman. There was a child CSAM bust, Florida, ugly woman. You guys remember that one the other day? Ugly woman. Where'd it go? I had pulled it up, but there was let me see, maybe trafficking. Let's see. There it is. There's that Sheriff Grady Judd shocking arrest of an ugly man woman charged with human trafficking. All right. You guys remember
I'm gonna
this?
Go through these.
Hold
How
on,
about Jason Bathis from 43 from Davenport?
What
This
is
our
that?
Human trafficking and prostitution, folks. He's charged with offering to commit. This is this Jason Bathis. Okay.
All right, so this person, this doesn't even look like a person, guys. This person, this just happened a couple months ago. This person is not what most predators look like. Most predators don't look like they put on a face mask of somebody else, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. They don't look like they rip someone's face off. So I wish every single predator looked like that. So yeah. Oh man, I wish every predator looked like that so we can spot them. Why can't we spot these people? We don't. They don't look like that. They look like the guy that we just saw a minute ago that was arrested for the child PORN. All right, that's what this. They don't look like this guy, and if they did, we'd be able to protect our children better.
When he walks in, you think, well, I have set up a deal with an ugly woman. And I think you would all agree that this guy's an ugly woman, right? This is what you really get when the makeup comes off. This is Jason Bathurst. Now I want you to think.
Hey man, people are laughing at this. That is disgusting. All right, disgusting. And I'm glad I got a laugh out of this. And by the way, you guys, I don't even know how we've been here for 45 minutes. I got so caught up in showing you guys this and reading. I'm like, wait, what? How am I going to keep this episode to an hour and a half today? All right, but if you want to help support the channel, do me a favor, hit that like button, guys. Get yourself a membership, gift membership, super chat, super sticker, please, to support the channel. Now, we're also going to give away a Arrest Jen Sodto themed giveaway. So Tiff that does the merchandise is going to put something together that says #Arrest Jen Sodto, and we're going to give it away to one lucky person today, but you have to be a Crime Crew member. You can be a member of the lowest tier, which is $2.99. But if you're not, you cannot win an Arrest Jen Sodto giveaway that we're going to be doing at the end of this. All right. And I've been feeling spicy all week long. I actually got I have a cold. I thought I had allergies, but I got a cold from baby guilty going back to school with all those feral ass children. All right. Leanne, thank you for the Guilty of Crime membership. I think I might be able to call you today. I want to give you a call. All right, look, most monsters don't look like this. People are laughing at this right now.
This minute, okay? You decide that you're going to hook up with a woman. She comes in, and she's already uglier than a mud fence, right? And then, as you start to engage, you find out, hey, this dudette is a dude, and look what he really looks like.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he looks like he should have been in a Scarface movie someplace. I don't
Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
This is what's happening. People think they're getting this, and many times they're getting a really bad guy. So this is the before and after. You know, when you find them in the bar at night, you know, you try to drink them pretty, and you wake up the next morning and you see this. Yeah, that's what we call Rolex ugly. Rolex ugly is you wake up the next morning and they're laying on your arm and your Rolex is there, and you just chew your arm off and leave the Rolex. You just got to get out of there.
Oh man, this is great. And like I said, we don't. Oh my God, I love it. I needed a laugh, guys. So anyway, most monsters, predators, trafficking people don't look like that, or that scary ass guy on there. All right. So, oh man, my eyes are watering, guys. All right, we're going to get into it. Never a truer word. Analyzing a friend of Stephan Stern's. And is he also a chomo? Why should we be concerned about him? Again, go subscribe to this channel. They do awesome content. Oh my God, guys, my eyes are watering right now. Oh, I needed that laugh. All right. And all right, I missed some of you guys, but Leanne, hi, hun. Love you. Thanks for letting my friends see the Christmas giveaway. You're amazing. You're amazing. Thank you for the £5. Appreciate you. And then you gifted a membership, and shout out to Elizabeth for being a member for 10 months. And you're now entered into the Arrest Jen Sodto giveaway. All right. All right. Let's keep going. All right. Now, that's not true, Matt. And yeah, do me a favor. Let's not keep on. This is what I talked about yesterday. That's unacceptable to keep asking the same question over and over and over. Deb didn't know that they were, and there was an intention of them sleeping with Maddie. Maddie was going to sleep in the room with Stephan and Jen, and Deb stopped it right there and said, she's way too old to be sleeping with y'all. I'm taking her in there. We have a king size bed. The dogs will sleep in the middle. She could sleep on the other side. This has nothing to do with that situation. And if I keep seeing people ask, why aren't you answering me? I asked you 5 times. I'm going to shut it down. All right. Stop asking the same question. If you didn't get an answer, it was on purpose. All right. I don't answer questions that I don't want to, but we've already answered it. All right. And the mods will take care of that. You guys see that shit again. Just time them out for the rest of the episode. I don't care. I'm trying to present a case here and real information. I don't need that. All right. All right. Let's get into this.
Stearns received 21 life sentences. But what kind of man was he? He hasn't spoken much. I get the feeling the adults in Stearns' life knew a lot more about what was going on with Stephan than they even want to say. Stephan's not going to tell us, so let's look at what a friend has to say when a friend was interviewed shortly after the murder about his experiences with Stephan Stearns. And what we're going to look for here is repetitions, because what someone repeats shows what's a priority in their mind. So when he's talking about Stephan, the concepts and the ideas that this guy repeats are going to inform us of what his thoughts are on Stephan and what his experiences are of Stephan, because the things we...
All right, just real quick, since I gave you attention already, Matt. Now listen, Deb did find out that she didn't find out anything. The context is king. She didn't find out shit. They were at her house, staying the night, and Maddie wanted to sleep with her parents. Stepdad, that's what they called him, and Jen Sodto. It was one isolated incident. And after they went home, Deb was not the who sleeps with who police. And it wasn't sleeping. Like it wasn't like, hey, get out of my house, you piece of trash. She didn't even know what was happening. So let me rephrase this. Of course she let Stephan stay there after. It wasn't like that. That's completely taken out of context. All right. It was an isolated incident. I'm sure if Deb knew that when you say sleeping, that Stephan was having a inappropriate relationship with Maddie and Jen was involved, I'm sure there would have been a point where it was stopped and something would have been said, or they wouldn't have turned over that damn CSAM. All right. So we're taking it out of context here. All right. When something's taken out of context, then it doesn't mean the same thing. All right. Maddie told her and thought it was funny. She did confront Stephan and Jen and that one time, but it wasn't like she went to Deb and said, hey, Deb, hey, whatever she called you. Hey, Deb, Stearns and Jen and Stephan are sleeping with me naked and doing things to me. Nothing was said like that. She told her in a joking way, and Deb said, not in my house. You guys aren't going to sleep in the same bed. That was it. All right. I did read that. All right. So no, if we knew, we would have reported it. Absolutely. So when you put it in context of an isolated incident that Maddie was joking about, she didn't say, Deb, they're making me be naked at night, and when I wake up, my body parts are hurting, or when I wake up, I feel sore, or when I wake up, somebody's doing something to me. She never said that. Had she said that to anyone, I would hope they would have done something. All right, so let's blame Jen Sodto and Stephan Stearns for that. How about we blame the roommates? What about the roommates? Why did Jen's roommates not do a damn thing about it? They were there all the time at night while it was happening, and noises were being made and CSAM was being produced. So let's put it to the people that deserve it. How about that? All right. Thank you for the $10 super sticker. And I don't like things being taken out of context. I hate when other creators clip what I say and change the context. That's not okay. All right. Thank you for the $10 super sticker, Leanne. I appreciate that. Yeah. Why not blame it on the roommates? Why not blame it on the dog? There was a dog living there. Why didn't the parrot speak up? Come on, man. Let's be real. All right. Not a break up, spend time as we'd love. Therefore, we wouldn't. Yeah, we don't know. My mom doesn't live here. My mom's like 2.5 hours away. Now, how would she know what we do in our house? Come on, man. Be real. If you're gonna say something, at least be real about it.
Repeat, someone who bangs on about something all the time, that's an indication of what their priorities are. So when we keep a careful ear out for what people repeat, the concepts and the ideas, we can learn a lot about what is their thought processes. So let's go into this interview with Frank, who is a friend, or was a friend, of Stephan.
Okay, so how long have you known him?
Roughly like 3 years, maybe a little over. I met him playing, I got into Warhammer 40K at tabletop, like RPG game, and he was one of the people there, and I clicked with him right away because, he smoked pot, and I was like, oh, okay, I can have someone to, smoke a joint with and play some tabletop game. And after that, he was at my house, religiously, I would say every weekend, He was always coming over. He's met my kids, met my wife. He's been to my house multiple times. And
Well, here's the thing. This is my question I pose. Predators stick together. There had to be. There's no way that you can possess a hard drive with 35,000 images plus all the other ones without having people to share it with, trade it with, buy it, and sell it. You just don't produce that much. So I don't know who this guy, I know he's a friend. We've listened to this before. I posed the question and we're looking at his analysis. He kept saying he was also normal. We're going to analyze this. Was he also part of that? Who was part of that? If he wasn't, what friends were? Who was it that he was selling, trading, buying, and all that too? Where did it come from? Yes.
I would have never expected, I never noticed a sign, but I mean, he was always a quirky guy, but it's a nerdy game. So I just figured he was a nerd,
So when you think back when he was coming over to your house, did you ever see him act a little strange with your kids now in hindsight?
No, like not once, but also my kids are boys and they're the ages of, 3. And when he first met Johnny, 5, and my other son was just born. So no, I didn't get that vibe from him.
Okay,
Yep,
so maybe they were outside of his range anyways.
Yeah, it seemed to me like he liked teenage girls. Especially.
So when he's saying he liked teenage girls, why was this guy still feeding? And that's why we're analyzing this, guys. I bet most of it was online, but there's no possibility to have that much production of CSAM. Now, when someone says if Deb would have just said something, cut off Stephan financially, Maddie would be alive today. That's a true statement. It's also a true statement if Jen wouldn't have handed Maddie over to Stephan when she was 6 years old, or if the roommates would have said, what is going on here? I'm calling CPS. Or if Yolanda would have kept Maddie at the birthday party at that house a week longer, or if she would have moved with Tyler, or if, right? So true statement, but watch who you're directing stuff at, because yeah, there were people involved, but the number 2 people, one's arrested and never getting out, and the other one's free, which is her mother, which should have protected her. All right, so fair statement.
Actually, after hearing the interview with his other friend, it seemed he liked 12 to 14, 15-year-old girls.
Okay, so we've got Frank here describing his relationship with Stephan Stearns and his experiences of him. The question is asked of him, okay, so how long have you known him? And Frank says, roughly like 3 years, maybe a little over. And that deals with the question, how long have you known him? And he gives an answer there, 3 years, maybe a little over. So an indication here, he's being honest. He's not avoiding the question. He's not prevaricating around the question. He's giving a straight answer, 3 years, maybe a little over. And then he says how he met him. He goes extra. Now, often when someone goes extra, I'm very suspicious about them. Why are they saying more? Here, I think potentially there's a desire to please the interviewer, because that's what happens when you're interviewed. You're expected to talk a lot. Maybe he just wants to get ahead of some of the questions. Maybe what Frank wants to do is explain that this relationship was a very innocent relationship, that he had no inkling of what was going on with Madeline, no inkling that this guy he was having around his house was a potential murderer, and he wants to get out ahead of that. And what he says is, I met him playing, I got into Warhammer 40K, a tabletop like RPG game, and he was one of the people there, and I clicked with him right away because, he smoked pot, and I was like, oh, okay, I could have someone, smoke a joint with and play some tabletop game. So potentially here, it was kind of a character reference, isn't it, that he's giving Stephan Stearns here? This is the first thing that comes to my head. This is the priority that I'm going to say when I talk about Stephan Stearns. And I've got to say, if that was a character reference someone was giving me, I wouldn't be overly pleased with it. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with smoking pot. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with playing games like Warhammer. What I am saying is that all Stephan Stearns was known for? Nothing about his character or his personality. He was a lovely guy. He was a friendly guy. He was a very funny guy. There's nothing there at all. It's about what he did, Warhammer games and smoke pot, rather than who he is as a person. Now, that's a very male way of describing people, by the way. It tends to be men who describe what people do, and women would tend to describe who people are.
Interesting.
Emotionally and sort of spiritually. But there we go. That's it in a nutshell. Stephan Stearns played games, smoked pot. Could also be the fact that Frank is wanting to do some curation here around his experiences with Stearns, because if he was up to things with Stearns, now I'm not saying anything illegal, just things that all of a sudden with hindsight, knowing what Stearns has done, I don't want to pass on to people, then potentially that's what's going on here as well. He's curating what he's going to tell us about Stephan Stearns. Last thing I'm going to notice in this intro here is the pronouns. You'll see that Frank talks about himself as I got into Warhammer. I clicked with him right away. I was like, okay, I could have someone to smoke a joint with. And separately, Stephan Stearns is.
And I definitely think he wanted to absolutely distance himself, because when a police officer comes to you and tells you that a crime of that magnitude happened, you're going to want to distance yourself and say, man, I just knew the guy because we, smoked together and played a game. But let me just check it. Let me read this. One thing I'm confused and perplexed is how Stephan said he left the room. Personally, I think he left it after he did his evil, somehow had to have Jen's help to get her out and get her dressed. And that's another key point there that we talked about yesterday. Absolutely, I think Jen was part of the getting her dressed, but I don't know how she forgot that they put jeans on her, because she did have jeans and a hoodie with one croc and white socks. All right. And yeah, that is wild that he said that. I don't know about that either. I don't know. But there has to be other people that are connected to Stephan that were buying, selling, trading, and producing CSAM.
Slightly separate with him because he is he in this telling. So he was one of the people there. He smoked pot. So we've got I and he, a slight separation there. There's not a we, there's not a unity there, which is interesting. It suggests maybe not the closest of relationships going on, certainly around all of this, because it's I and he. There was no we in there whatsoever. So he carries on. After that, he was at my house. I mean, religiously, I would say every weekend, he's always coming over. Now, if this is curation, this is interesting curation, because what he's saying here is I was quite happy to have Stephan Stearns at my house a lot. Religiously is the very first way he talks about it, as if it was like a religious practice to go round to the house every weekend. I would say every weekend. Well, that's a lot to have someone come round your house, especially that you met 3 years ago, to be involved that quickly. Interesting. Again, I'm not saying anything nefarious. I'm just saying interesting. He's always coming over. So Stephan Stearns came over to his house a lot. You'll notice that what Frank wants to talk about is Stephan coming to his house. He's not talking about going to Stephan's house, not talking about meeting anywhere else either.
Yeah, I mean, we could definitely point fingers at those roommates, and I never would. I would never want that roommate that gave me an interview a long time ago to say, man, it was her fault that she did that. She said she felt really uncomfortable when Jen, Maddie, and Stephan were in the bed together all the time. So she would leave her door open. And then there was another roommate that said when they were in the room with the door closed, and she told Jen, and Jen blew her off. So that's 3 roommates that lived there, plus a 4th one that lived there before. Why didn't they say anything? What about Juan? Did he say anything? He was there. He had to have seen some of the connections. So what about Juan? What about the roommates? It's not that we can't place blame on them. We wish they would have saw something and said something and then done something, but we just can't. We cannot blame it on them, but we can blame it on Jen Sodto for letting our daughter, just giving her daughter to Stephan. And what about that room, number 4? Unidentifiable furniture, walls, a tripod, lube, a 9mm. Does that make sense to you? Not to me.
He wants to talk about Stephan coming over to his house. Then he says, he's met my kids, met my wife. He's been to my house, multiple times. So we have, once again, him wanting to say, and he said it a lot, that Stephan Stearns was at his house a lot, my house multiple times. He's been at his house a lot, religiously, every weekend, always, multiple times. He's there a lot. You'll actually notice there, religiously suggests once a week, because that's the typical frequency of religious visits somewhere. Every weekend, again, is once in a week. Always coming over. Well, that's a little bit more vague, but that's like all the time. And then multiple times just feels a little bit softer, doesn't it?
You should definitely go back, my friend. There's absolutely not only one roommate that said that in her interview, that she questioned Jen. She literally got on the phone and called Jen and said, I want to let you know Maddie's in the room with Stephan. They're playing games or something, but I want to make sure that's okay. And Jen didn't give two craps about it. And then the roommate before that was living there with Juan, Jen, and Maddie. Stephan hadn't quite moved in yet. He would come visit, said she would leave her door open because she felt uncomfortable about those three always in the bed together, sleeping. All right. So, yeah, you should definitely go back and take a look at those interviews. Ooh, I don't like thunder either, especially when you're outside swimming. You're outside in the heat, and then you're in the pool or swimming and the lightning comes.
But first thing he said in that extract there is, he's met my kids, met my wife. Ordering is always important. The first thing we mention is usually the priority that we have. The second thing is the second priority, and so on. Things get lower in priority the further down the list they go, or it can be chronological order. So he's met my kids, met my wife. The normal phrase we expect to hear is wife and kids. I've got a wife and kids.
I know.
He met my wife, met my kids, but no, he puts his kids first. It's the top priority in his head of what he's thinking about that Stephan Stearns has met, unless it was his kids first and his wife second. And this, by the way, is the only mention of his wife, I think, in this entire interview. That one that Stephan Stearns has met my wife. He's been to my house, my house multiple times. And, I would have never expected, I never noticed a sign. So he came to my house multiple times. I would have never expected, and he finishes that thought, or he bails out of that thought. I never would have expected, what is he going to say? Him to do something like this, him to be in trouble like this, him to have had a relationship with Madeline like this. He pulls out of that thought. Expected.
Again, we're just putting connections, and this was analyzed, and we wanted to see what connections people have to Stephan. Now, maybe he didn't know any of the people, but he was absolutely producing a crap load of CSAM as well as receiving it. I don't know about buying it, but trading it and probably selling it. All right. Now, One Love Kelly says nobody would ever let that go. And the reason I brought this up is because main to blame is Jen. It wasn't allowing the crap of this would have happened, and Maddie would be here today. It was years, you guys. Let's be real about how many years that Jen was allowing Stephan to abuse Maddie. All right. She should have seen her underwear. And I'm going to be bold here. She should have seen what her underwear looked like. She should have looked at clothes. She could have smelled like things that were, what about the constipation? What about the scars? What about the damage that would have been done to her body from that? All right. What about that? How did she not notice that? I notice when my children get a little scratch, I can scratch myself and see a tiny little scratch. I'm like, what happened to you? Did she not check any of that? What about her period? What about, none of it computed. I'm not buying that. All right. Not you, Leanne, a different one. Oh, did you say you were phoning me tonight? I can. I meant the tarot, Leanne. Badass tarot.
Is an interesting choice there. I never would have expected. I never would have thought. Just never would have expected. And then he says, I never noticed a sign. It's not there were no signs. It's not he was a regular guy. There was nothing to pick up on. It's I never noticed a sign. If you never noticed something, that suggests in your head that it was there.
Yeah,
you just didn't notice it. I didn't notice the person step out in front of my car. They were there. They stepped out in front of the car. You just didn't notice them. I never noticed a sign. Suggests to me that he has in his head the concept that there were signs there. It's just he never noticed them. He just did.
All right, let me just say this one time and one time only. We are absolutely not forgetting about who. I don't know how we can forget about who did this. And it's not. You're the second person that said, I feel weird, like I can't say something about Stephan Stearns because his mom's in chat. BS. I don't hold back from saying anything bad about Stearns. This whole episode is about freaking Stearns. It started off talking about him getting 21 life sentences. I call him a monster. I call him a chomo. I call him a predator. I call him a piece of shit. What else do I need for you guys to understand that I am not filtering what I'm saying about Stephan Stearns for anybody's sake? All right. So you're the second person that said that. And no, we just don't. We're not. We're adults. So we can say intelligible things and insulting things at the same time. We don't have to use cuss words. We don't have to use bad names or insults. Sometimes we do, but that's not the case at all on this channel. So if you feel like you're holding back for some reason, that's not on me. If we're deleting comments, it's because you're being rude to someone directly. It's not because she's in chat. I've instructed my mods to only delete comments if someone's being distasteful, if they're cussing, if they're insulting somebody, but not Stephan Stearns. So let's just clear that up right now. That has nothing to do with you and what you're saying. I'm telling you right now. All right. Ring me too, hun. I'll try, I guess. All right. If I would not say it in front of someone of their associates, you may want to rethink how you say things. There you go. Yeah, if you're gonna start cussing, Stephan Stearns is a effing P, and then you spell it and it's just classless and tasteless, then it's gonna get deleted. But if you're just talking about everything we've always talked about, that's not what I'm doing. I haven't done anything. That's not on me. That's not on me at all. Tiff says, Michelle, I'm not deleting comments about Stephan Stearns. I'm deleting things that have curses and inappropriate words or attacking people. And that's all I've directed anybody to do, was talk about the person you're talking about. Do not make the other chatters feel uncomfortable because you can't say the F word by saying something intelligible. But by any means, go ahead. All right, no, Deb, you are not the problem there being rude. Yeah, that's all I'm saying. It's just you can have the observation and I'm responding to it, Michelle. I've responded it to another person, and I'm going to tell you. The only reason you can't say that word, Rosie, is because YouTube doesn't like it. You can call him a pedo or a chomo or say you want to shoot his cactus peen off. I still say that. But it's just YouTube that doesn't like that language. All right. Yeah, I'm covering this case for a reason. Yeah. If other channels let you guys use tasteless words, then go ahead.
Notice him. But I mean, he was always a quirky guy. But, it's a nerdy game, so I just figured he was a nerd, Okay, so he was always a quirky guy. That's going to become interesting as we go through some of the other things that Frank says. So just bear that one in your mind. He was always a quirky guy. You'll notice always comes before it. So always a quirky guy, nothing regular about him. That's what always a quirky guy means. But, it's a nerdy game. That's Warhammer. So I just figured he was a nerd, Now, just figured means that you worked it out. It's in the past tense here, just figured. So what he's saying is explicitly, he noticed these quirks. He noticed he was a quirky guy, and he thought about it, couldn't place it for a while, and then figured he was a nerd, Starting to build up a picture of what Stephan Stearns was like, I think, from Frank's words, despite how curated they may be. The interviewer asks Frank, so when you think back to when he was coming over to your house, did you ever see him act a little strange with your kids now in hindsight? He says, no, like not once. Now that's a lot of ways of saying no, not once. He wants to be really hugely emphatic that no, not once did he have those thoughts. Did he think he was a little strange with his kids? He wants to make sure he gets that across. Now, why is that? Is that because he wants to create an image of himself as a very good dad? And if he did notice these things, there's no way he would have let this guy near.
I got to give Michelle credit, though, for at least saying it in chat, because I see other people in other streams just trash talking me. And then they come back over here after they say, Jay isn't talking about Stephan like the way she's not being hard enough on him. She's not using the words that I would use. At least you're saying it here. All right. And yeah, we're never going to please all the people all the time. And I'd rather you say it here than go on other channels and just spread stuff that's not true. So I appreciate that. But I just want to let you guys know that's not the truth. We just don't talk. We don't use that language on this channel. I tried my best to keep this stuff YouTube friendly. Otherwise, I would cover serial killers.
His kids. But or is it that he had reservations. He was trying to figure out what Stearns was quirky around. But he now thinks it's much more in his interest to say, no, everything was fine. But he's hugely emphatic there. Also, my kids are boys, and they're the ages of, 3. And when he first met Johnny, 5. And my other son was just born. So no, I didn't get that vibe from him. He stutters on I didn't. He's having trouble saying what he's going to say next. I didn't get that vibe from him. Now, he says he didn't get that vibe because his kids were boys. How did he know Stearns' preferences? How did he know everything that Stearns was into? Because we now know a lot about what Stearns was into. To say that you didn't get a vibe from Stearns means, because your kids are boys, means you got to have some feeling for what Stearns' preferences were. How did you know that, Frank? I'd be interested in that. The interviewer says, okay, so maybe they were outside of his age range anyways. And Frank says, yeah, it seemed to me like he liked teenage girls, especially after hearing the interview with his other friend. It seemed like he liked 12 to 14, 15-year-old girls. So seemed is the bit that's interesting there. It's not, it seems to me. So if you had just learned all these things that Stephan was into, you'd be using the present tense. Yeah, it seems to me he liked teenage girls.
I literally think everybody, 99% of the people that come onto my channel do think that Jen was involved. Absolutely. I think the narrative of my entire channel is #arrest Jen Sodto, and it's always been to see Stephan. It was for me to see Stephan get the death penalty, but when I realized that I no longer have to sit there and read all this terrible CSAM and maybe not even have to run across nasty photos, I was grateful that he pled guilty. Now, the no contest one, the reason I'm happy about Stephan pleading no contest to the capital M charge is because it leaves a gap for them to go after Jen Sodto for being an accomplice, or maybe even being the person that actually did the strangulation. All right, so it's not over. This isn't done. We haven't got clear answers. And we're going to be giving away an Arrest Jen Sodto package at the end of this episode. You just got to hit the like, be subscribed, and have a membership. All right. All right. Thank you, Coco Cutie. I appreciate you. Let's keep going so we can get this done today.
But he's using the past tense. It seemed to me he liked teenage girls. So that suggests to me that this was in the past, that he had some knowledge that Stearns liked teenage girls when he was hanging out with them, because that's why that seemed past tense would be in there. The only caveat to that would be, especially after hearing the interview with his other friend. Now, I don't know which one he's referring to. This interview is taken from a lot of interviews with friends of Stearns, people who knew him in childhood, people who knew him in adulthood. So potentially he's drawn that conclusion after hearing another interview with a friend. But even then, I would expect it seems present tense to be the tense that he would use there. It seems he liked teenage girls because I've just learned it and I'm feeling that right now. Not seemed to me. Now, what have I got in this very first part of this interview? Real sense of immaturity from Stephan Stearns with these Warhammer games and this smoking pot. I'm not saying, again, there's anything wrong with them, but if that's your entire character, it's a slightly immature, not very rounded way of being. I think we've got some self-soothing here from Frank.
Now, let me break it down a little bit for you guys. If Stephan would have said guilty to the CSAM and then pled guilty and took full responsibility for taking Maddie's life, it would sure be a lot more difficult for the prosecution or the district attorney to go and file a case against Jen Sodto. She would say, I'm not responsible for this. You can see this man pled guilty to taking her life and this. But now that door is left open and it was a no contest, meaning nobody's really taken the blame for that, it absolutely leaves the door open to go and prosecute Jen Sodto and get her as the defense and be able to create a case, because he did not accept responsibility for that. And that's the only hope that we really have. And let's forget everything else. If Jen Sodto wasn't involved in any way Why did she call Chris Stearns to get Stephan a lawyer after she saw the CSAM pictures of Maddie with his peen in her mouth? All right. And she saw more than that picture. She saw several CSAM pictures, and she clearly said, I don't think that's evil. But the taking of the life, well, that would be. Why didn't she go to her memorial? Why didn't she go to her vigil? Why didn't she show up to any kind of court at all? Why didn't she make an impact statement, even a written one? She could have done it over the phone. Now, her immunity is absolutely just a one-time thing. There is no immunity, there's no blanket immunity for Jen Sodto. It was a one-time interview. That's it. All right. Why did Frank think it was normal if a 40-year-old guy likes? Exactly. That's what we're talking about today. I place the blame where the blame is due, and 110% I place the blame on Stephan Stearns for all the CSAM. Even though I think Jen Sodto reaped the benefits of it, I place the blame on Stephan. Yes, he's a pedo, he's a chomo, he's a predator, he's all that. He's also convicted. Jen Sodto, on the other hand, I believe has the same amount of blame for both crimes, and yet she's out there free. All right? Yeah, she needs to be arrested. What a horrible birther. Could have at least made an impact statement. Why didn't she do that?
Saying there was nothing, I didn't spot anything up, there was never any signs, but things like I didn't notice the signs, and he seemed like teenage girls. Did Frank know more? Now, Stephan Stearns been big news this week because of 21 life sentences for what he did, which was damn horrible. I've got a feeling, and I've got a playlist of the Jen Sodto case looking at the words of some of the people around there. I've got a feeling Madeline was really let down by some of the adults in her life, people who could have protected her more from someone like Stephan Stearns. If you've any interest in me breaking down some more people talking about Stephan Stearns, then do let me know in the comments here. The more likes and the more views this video gets, then the more I think there's some interest in covering this one in more detail. So do let me know if you would like to get some more on Stephan Stearns. For example, more of his friends have spoken. Also, we have jail calls with his parents as well, which I think may be very revealing about what came to make the monster that is Stephan Stearns. Let's go back to the interview with Frank.
Well, the thing is he had pictures on his phone of CSAM material with Madeline at the age of, I think, 9 or 10.
Really? I mean, is that confirmed that it was her?
Yeah, it said it. Well, they didn't put the name on it, but you could tell that's what they were referring to.
It was the house. Yeah, it was the house. So that's what I figured.
Yeah.
So no, I didn't get that weird vibe from him, honestly. You know, he was pretty normal around my house. I mean, he definitely had an Adderall addiction. You know, he didn't eat much, that I remember, and you know, he stayed up all night. He would wake up like way later than like 4:30, 5 o'clock every day. So.
Okay. Starting to get concerned here. Well, the thing is, he had pictures on his phone of CSAM material with Madeline at the age of, I think, 9 or 10. And Frank says, really? I mean, did that confirm that it was her? That's a question to a question. Is that him buying some time, or is that him just trying to find out some more information? But he seems to have a little bit of knowledge there about what the material was. Did that confirm that it was her? Or maybe he just wants more information. The interviewer says, yeah, well, it said it. Well, they didn't put the name on it, but you could tell that's what they were referring to. And Frank says, it was the house. Yeah, it was the house. So that's what I figured. So no, I didn't get that weird vibe from him, honestly. You know, he was pretty normal around my house. Repeated concepts. The word house comes up around here. It was the house. It was the house. Now, it was the house. I believe what he's saying here is they identified the pictures from the house. How does he know the house was in them? I don't know, and I'd be interested in finding out some more about that. How does he know that it was identified as being Madeline from the house? So that's what I figured. Again, this is past tense. So he's saying in the past now. That could be just before the interview, or it could be longer term. He figured that for some reason the house gave it away, or the house would give it away. He stutters again over I didn't. So no, I didn't.
Now, I wonder if that guy was also doing Adderall with him. I mean, how did he know that? I can't imagine he would just walk over there and say, yeah, I have an Adderall addiction. Or did they bust it out and break it up in lines and doing it together? I mean, that's what happens, right? All right. So let's get through this one. Yes.
I didn't get that weird vibe from him, honestly. So he stutters over, I didn't. He's got some difficulty saying it, maybe forming his next words. I didn't get that weird vibe from him. I didn't get a weird vibe from him or any weird vibe from him.
Exactly.
It's that weird vibe. Now, what is that? I could go two ways on this one. It could be that now he's found out some more about Stearns. He didn't get that from him. He didn't know he was up to that. Or is it that weird vibe that he knows there was a weird vibe, but he just is wanting to tell us now? I didn't get that weird vibe from him. And then he puts honestly at the end of it. That honestly is used by someone who really wants to assure us of their honesty. They really want to persuade us they're being honest. Sometimes that can be because someone is lying. And they feel like saying, I'm being honest, honestly, makes their lies seem more believable. And sometimes it can come from someone, and I think this might be the case here, from someone who is under pressure to be honest and to get across what was going on. So they will try to tell us, look, I am being honest here. Honestly, this is what happens. I think it's the latter, but I'm open to it being the former. You know, he was pretty normal around my house. House comes up again. House is going to come up a lot. Living arrangements are going to come up a lot from Frank. But look how qualified this was. He was pretty normal around my house. So just pretty normal, not totally normal. Now, remember, he was always quirky, but now he's trying to say he was pretty normal, just not totally normal, just pretty normal and around my house. Very qualified. He was only pretty normal and only around.
And that bothers me a lot, guys. That bothers me a lot that we don't feel like we got closure to this case because of no contest of the capital M charge. All right. So that I feel like, but it's not about us. It's about justice, which we don't know if we're going to get. But if Stephan pled no contest to that, and now prosecution can go in and say, okay, this case is not technically closed. There's a no contest. Jen can't use that again. She can't use that. If Stephan was to plead guilty to everything he pled in the CSAM, but not in the capital charge. I don't think that he did that because for that reason to prosecute Jen, but I do think he did that because in his mind, he knows that they did have a pact. Jen did give him access to Maddie for years, and he did get rid of her body. But what transpired in between? Just because I don't like that outcome doesn't mean the next outcome isn't going to be Jen Sodto getting prosecuted and not being able to say, see, he already pled guilty. I didn't do it. How can you put it on me? So yeah, I understand how you guys feel. I feel the same way. I feel like there's no justice for Maddie. All right. And regardless that he pled no contest, he's still being convicted. Yeah, exactly. Why would you plead to the most horrible of horrific, disgusting crimes, but not to that one? Unless somebody else was involved and you wanted to, but why didn't he say anything? I don't know.
In Frank's house. So I think I'm really open to the fact that Frank knew this guy was at the very least a weirdo. Then he goes on to say, he definitely had an Adderall addiction. You know, he didn't eat much that I remember. He stayed up all night. He could wake up like way later than like 4:30, 5 o'clock every day. So here, look, as much as he wants to say pretty normal, then we do have quirky, we do have addictions, we do have up all night, asleep all day, all things that are not normal. As much as Frank wants to say he was pretty normal, he does not think that Stearns was pretty normal at all. Now, the interview moves on to the fact of was Stearns working or was Stearns not working?
Okay, that was 3 years ago? That was 3 years
Yeah, when I first met him, he didn't work that whole time until he went to Kissimmee, moved in with Jen, and they got back together because they had split up at one point, and then he moved back into his parents. I always thought that was weird that he lived at his parents, woke up whenever he wanted, but had money to buy these expensive Warhammer stuff. I was like, this doesn't add up. His parents giving him money. I didn't really know.
So we're here there. Okay, that was 3 years ago, those 3 years. Frank says, yeah, when I first met him, he didn't work that whole time until he got to Kissimmee. Moved in with Jen, and they got back together because they had split up at one point. Very back and forward, this one, in terms of like when things actually happen. It's all a bit up in the air in terms of the timeline that Frank gives us. He didn't work that whole time until he went to Kissimmee. moved in with Jen, and they got back together because they had split up at one point, back and forward. And then he moved back to his parents. Again, just more of this weird timeline. I always thought that was weird that he lived with his parents. So again, I always thought that was weird. Now, this guy's tried to say he was pretty normal around my house, but again, he's brought up more things that were weird. I thought it was weird that he lived at his parents. Again, when I talk about Stern's always been...
Well, here's the thing is he's not innocent. And we all know that, right? He's not truly innocent of anything. He did dispose of Maddie's body. So he can't, that's why he pled no contest. Whatever's going on with him was going on with him and his decision to make. But he's definitely not innocent of what he was, what he's going to be in prison for the rest of his life for. No contest plea is not admitting to innocence or guilt, but the admission of the conviction. That is what a no contest plea. Yeah, I know, I get that 110%, but he got the time. I know exactly what no contest means. He got the time. Doesn't matter. He's still doing the time for it without innocent or guilt, which means that they can go in and prosecute Jen Sodto without Jen Sodto bringing to a jury that I'm innocent. There's no way you can say I'm not innocent because this man pled guilty to that. All right. So that's what it did for this case. Did he do that to be chivalrous? No. I don't know why he did that. But it does open the door or leave the door open for them to prosecute. Yeah, it's exactly what it is. No contest is not admitting it, but also receiving the sentence that he's getting. He knows. I don't think he tried to say he's innocent. Nothing about what he did is innocent.
Being described as immature, childlike, lived at his parents is another thing that comes through here.
We're going to go through this a little more because he kind of rehashes a lot of things in this episode. Is a lot of you guys aren't even paying attention to this, but we're listening to what he's breaking down about the friends. And the reason I brought this to you guys is because birds of a feather flock together. Whether he knew the people in real life or not, he had to have had a group of people that was buying, selling, trading, and producing CSAM, or he couldn't have had that amount of CSAM. All right. Let's go to the next statement. Oh, this one talked about working at Disney.
I get the impression there Frank has been told something, but now doesn't believe that's what it was. So I think the word supposedly is, I was told it was a spare bedroom.
I know.
But now I'm going to say it was supposedly a spare bedroom. Well, why does he think supposedly? Why does he think there's some difference between what he was told and what he now thinks, feels, or knows? Supposedly a spare bedroom. Does he know that it wasn't? But the questions are about work, and he focuses on living arrangements there. It's so interesting. I'm very unclear on the timelines, though, from Frank. It's all very chaotic. Was he suspicious? Was it that he thought at the time, supposedly a spare bedroom, but is he telling me the truth? We'll see some more from Frank as he goes on. Now, listen, Frank is not telling us the full truth, is he? And this is happening to you all the way through your life. People are just holding things back.
That's what he's talking about right there. All right, let's get into
the conclusion.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't think so. You just think the guy had a social problem and he was a nerd and he kept to himself. So
it's kind of like a wolf in sheep's clothing, basically.
Oh, 100%. 100%. But yeah, he went.
Yep.
He said out of nowhere he's moving back there. But like what he said, like that weekend, he said something. Yeah, he mostly felt bad about the breakup because of Madeline, because they created a strong bond. So I really don't know about, like, you know, he wanted to go back there. He was supposed to go there that weekend that we hung out, but didn't. He went the following weekend, I guess.
So here we have Frank being asked. It's strange because she allowed him, and I presume this is Jen, she allowed him, you know, the mother allowed him to come back to give her a ride to school for some reason. He says, well, yeah, he was like, and then he stops. He was like, he's going to tell us something about Stephan there and thinks better of it. He was like, okay, this one didn't make sense to me either. So despite this, he was pretty normal. We've got something else that doesn't make sense to Frank. Like he was hanging around with a guy either he barely knew He just went, this is a weird guy, but I'm going to go with it anyway. Or he liked the weirdness, but all of a sudden he really wants to create some distance from himself there. So this one didn't make sense to me either. Either implies just one more thing that doesn't make sense. So really, despite this, he was pretty normal around my house. Lots of things not normal about Stearns to Frank. Like there's something like we hung out 2 weekends or weekend before this. Now, remember at the very beginning, I talked about pronouns. It was I and he. Here we have we.
And he does say, but before all of this transpired, but that was just the one incident that transpired to take Maddie's life. All right. So this was already happening. You got to remember that these people that were friends with Stephan or friends with Jen only can look at it in hindsight now, you guys, and say, that's weird. Why did they have an extra room supposedly when Maddie never slept in it? Why did they have bedroom number 4 that had a bunch of locks on it with adult material, we'll say, being produced out of there? Right. Why? In hindsight, now that we look at it, right, then there you go. All right. But why? All right, let's keep going. We don't need to harp on some of these things so much. What I wanted to talk about was a friend of Stephan saying he was normal, and then some of the verbiage not necessarily adding up to never a truer word. And if Frank isn't the guy that was involved in buying, selling, trading CSAM, somebody was, because you don't collect that amount of CSAM or distribute it or have income from it by yourself. All right. This one says, I introduced him to a couple friends. He was like, on the outside, a normal, giving the person. Yeah, I keep saying a normal person. Out of take this whole thing, be a conclusion you wouldn't have. You wouldn't just think the guy had a social problem. He was a nerd and kept to himself. I'm going to go a little bit past that. So he's like a wolf in sheep's clothing. Let's listen to
He
this.
was supposed to go that was a weekend that we hung out, but he didn't. He went the following weekend, I guess. So getting more chaos in the storytelling from Frank. He does talk about feeling bad about the breakup because of Madeline, because they created a strong bond. Again, he's saying there's something a bit off about Stearns, or a bit not normal about Stearns. This was something else that he noticed there. So just not normal, really. And that was the weekend we hung out. So we've got that joint pronoun there of we. It wasn't like I hung out with him or he hung out with me and my friends, I guess. So there, we've got the downplaying of the crime, talking about this and transpiring. He describes anything but a normal person. As much as
now, guys, in hindsight, now looking at this, isn't the whole situation effed up about the, not only, of course, Maddie's life being taken, but the CSAM that was created and produced? In hindsight, shouldn't everybody say that's freaking super weird that Stephan was broken up with Jen so many times and he fixated on still coming back to help with his girlfriend's daughter? Do you remember all those messages on Discord? Was it Discord? Was it Instagram? What app was it where he was doing the Tamagotchis? Reddit. Every freaking Reddit was, I got my girlfriend's daughter a present. My girlfriend's daughter. I painted this for my girlfriend's daughter. Look at my girlfriend's daughter and I did this weekend. Look at my girl. It was always my girlfriend's daughter, my girlfriend's daughter. And then they weren't even together and sleeping with the girlfriend's daughter. In hindsight, all of this is messed up. All of it is. So anybody could say that. Anybody can say that in hindsight, it's all effed up. And why didn't we see it clearer? Right, downplaying of the crime describes anything but a normal person. Living arrangements a high priority. Interesting.
Frank wants to say there were no signs and there were nothing, no red flags. He does not describe a normal person at all when he's describing Stephan Stearns. And for some reason, I know not why, but for Frank, Stephan Stearns' living arrangements are a real high priority.
Was he the only one claiming they weren't in a relationship? Because how do you know that Jen thought that?
That's what he said, that he was staying in a spare bedroom there. So that's the information I have. And he lives back at his parents. So that seems to me, he was staying, he moved there because they were getting back together.
Why was he back over at Jen's house recently?
That, I guess her birthday. I can't think of.
That was the reason that
I thought that I was told.
Well, I guess that's true. The birthday party was the night before.
Yeah.
So here, how did was he the only one claiming they weren't in a relationship? I think this is about him and Jen, because how do you know that Jen thought that? Says Frank, and then changes it to that's what he said. That's what he was staying in a spare bedroom there. So that's the information I have. And he lives back at his parents. So that seems to me, he moved back there because they were getting back together. Now, this is a question about the relationship, the status of the relationship. And what we get is more chaos around living arrangements. I'll try and break it down for you, but it doesn't make a lot of sense. That's what he said, that he was staying in a spare bedroom there. So let's go to that. That he's the one that they weren't in a relationship. Stearns is saying they weren't in a relationship because he was staying in a spare bedroom there. And we have more information about this spare bedroom. And the information came from Stearns that it was a spare bedroom. So that's the information I have. And he lives back at his parents. So it seems to me, he moved there because they were getting back together. Don't really understand it. I think
Yeah, I don't quite understand that. And that'll be a good question. Now that Deb's in chat, Deb, do you have any idea why Stephan was moving back? What did he tell you? I want to know that. So he was at home just fine, doing his thing. He was gone for a month. Maddie got off the medication. She got the Student of the Month award. Why? What did he give the reason as from moving back to Jen's house again? That's what I want to know. And of course, he didn't go to the birthday party. No, they didn't like him. The Sodtos didn't like Stearns, and they didn't even really like Jen. And they definitely didn't like the combination of Jen and Stephan being together. So that whole idea was none of them. I mean, they would have never invited Stephan to the party. All right.
Is that from Frank's point of view, Stearns' relationship status is built on the living space that he occupied at the time, and he's not just very clear about where Stearns was living. Okay. He's asked, why was he back over at Jen's house recently? That I guess her birthday. I can't think of, that was the reason that I thought that I was told. I guess her birthday there. Now, the question is about Jen, but it was Madeline's birthday, wasn't it, that Stephan Stearns went back for? So he's zoned in on Madeline there with that answer. It's not Jen's birthday, it's Madeline. And he just refers to Madeline as her, not Madeline's birthday or not Jen's daughter's birthday or anything like that. He's gone straight there to Madeline with the her. Well, I guess if that's true, the birthday party was the night before. Yeah. So here we have, again, the living arrangements defining relationship status, which is very strange to me. And also that focus on Madeline there. Let's get some more from Frank.
So you guys would play Warhammer quite a bit, right?
Yeah, Warhammer, a couple tabletop card games like Magic the Gathering type of games.
Now, what's that other game that he's really into with that little sort of game toy that he plays with?
Oh, Tamagotchi.
Tamagotchi.
Yeah, I always thought that was weird. He's almost 40.
Yeah, it seems like something to sort of relate with children type of a game.
Yeah, but also he had a lot of weird stuff. Like, his room, it was nerdy. He was a gamer, so he had a lot of weird stuff. Like Star Wars memorabilia, Tamagotchis, Nerf guns, things like that.
Okay, so it did nothing set off alarm bells for you.
No, I just thought he was a nerdy guy,
So here we have, would you guys play Warhammer quite a bit, right? Yeah, Warhammer, a couple of tabletop card games like Magic of the Gathering type games. What was that other game he was really into? That little sort of game toy he plays with? Oh, Tamagotchi. So again, we've got something childlike or immature about Stephan Stearns here, is that he played Tamagotchi, which is traditionally a children's toy. And then Frank says, yeah, I always thought.
We're in the last part of this, people. So don't forget, hit that like button, put a comment in. We're going to give away a hashtag arrest Jen Sodto giveaway. I don't know what that's going to be. Tiff is the merch person. She's a mod. She's in chat, and she's done some really funny Jen Potato Sodto type of crap. So we're going to do something in honor of arrest Jen Sodto. All right. We're going to give that away, and you can only win it if you're in green. And of course, you have to be in the United States unless you want to pay for shipping. All right, we're going to do that soon. I just pulled up the app sorter, and we're going to give something away like we do.
thought that was weird. He's almost 40. So I always thought that was weird. So always and weird come through a lot. Weird comes through a lot. So as much as he's wanting to say, hey, this was just a regular guy who was a little bit nerdy, so much that Frank is saying that he knows about Stearns, he thought was weird. Still hung out with him, but he thought, again, another thing was weird. David says, yeah, seems like something to sort of relate to children type of game. Yeah, but also he had a lot of weird stuff. So the weirdness just keeps growing. He had a lot of weird stuff. Like, his room, it was nerdy, He was a gamer, so he had a lot of weird stuff, like Star Wars memorabilia, Tamagotchi, Nerf guns, things like that. So again, weird is the word that Frank is his go-to word to describe Stephan Stearns. He had a lot of weird stuff. He had a lot of weird stuff is what he says. So weird, despite this, pretty normal. Never noticed any signs. He saw
Let's go a little bit further. So that doesn't mean so much. I mean, there's a lot of people that are collectors of things or play those games, but weird comes in when you're always playing with your girlfriend's daughter and you're not even with your girlfriend anymore and you're sleeping with your ex-girlfriend's daughter. And again, all this in hindsight is more than weird. It's disgusting.
All right. So tell me more about him. Did you ever see him, when he was talking about women or?
That's what I was going to bring that up. There was a woman, we went out that night. I introduced some friends. We all hung out at a bar called Dean's with some music. Like a older woman, a cougar, was 100% hitting on him.
A cougar.
And he's single, so I was like, dude, you should grab up on that, man. Go get some. And he just was like, nah, not interested. And I just it made me turn my head a little bit. Like, what do you mean not interested? She was just looking for some. And if I was a single guy, why not? Who cares? And he was just not interested. And that always rattled my brain. Like, what? What do you mean not interested? Now I know why he wasn't interested. She wasn't in his age range. She was like 50 years too young. And then also another thing he had said, I knew it was a lie why he was saying it, but he's no good at lying. It was just like, he was telling us he had some girl from Disney, some spicy Latina. I was like, no.
Now remember that, guys, the spicy Latina that he was referring to. We've always gone back to that as it meaning Maddie rather than Jen. Now you can say Jen is a spicy Latina, but we know that he didn't have much interest in Jen at all. His interest didn't lie with her. And Jen said they hadn't even slept together in years because he wanted kinky stuff and she was vanilla, right? All right.
Believe that for a second. So he definitely lied. That's a lie that I caught him in. I never said anything to him because, what, let him talk, whatever. But I don't think that's true. Because why, if you're already broken up with this woman, why the heck would she be letting you bring random women to her house?
That's
right.
So it's just a lie. It was 100% a lie, just to look cool and maybe not seem normal.
It seemed normal is how it finishes it, but again, the story is anything but normal. So about 6 months ago, they break up. Where does he go after that? He's living there still, working at Disney, so he supposedly stayed in the guest room or something. So we've got, again, the fact he's not really sure about these living arrangements. We've got this supposedly stayed in the guest room.
And again, we know this, but I think that there was no explanation for any of this. You couldn't explain this to anyone. There's no way that anyone would understand this situation. So they just kind of, when I say they, again, in hindsight, they kept it on the DL with each other, meaning I think, in my opinion, that Jen and Stephan had a pact of letting him have access to Maddie and monetary gain. So it doesn't matter what you say to someone. It's going to be weird when this man's constantly on the phone with this little girl on FaceTime, not interested in the mom, but the daughter. But this is all hindsight. People did think that they were together, and then they thought they broke up and that he was just such a stand-up stepdad or bonus dad, which is what he referred to himself as, Maddie, that, and he told me, and he said the last message that he ever messaged to me said, I asked him about him and Maddie's relationship, and he said Maddie was his favorite person and he was hers. I don't think so. I mean, I don't think any of that. I know, and I know that's not the truth. All right. It can't be, because she was too little to consent to any of that.
Don't know how many lies they actually get past him. We don't catch. He's no good at lying. But also, let's just look at the situation Frank's in when he's talking. He's just learned that his mate, he's been a friend for 3 years, has been doing things to Madeline that are unspeakable, presumably hidden. Presumably he never spoke about any of those things at all. And also, he's murdered Madeline, something that Frank is trying to say I had no idea he was capable of. And yet he says Stephan Stearns was no good at lying. Why is that something he thinks about him? Well, because one or two things are true. He was very good at lying and you never knew any of this, or I thought he was no good at lying. Turns out that he was very good at lying, but a very worrying turn of phrase there from Frank.
Exactly.
You know, it was just like he was telling us he had some girl from Disney, some spicy Latina, and I was like, no, don't believe that for a second. So he definitely lied. He definitely lied. That's a lie I caught him in. You know, I never said anything to him because, you know, let him think, let him talk, whatever. So it was definitely a lie, and he's no good at lying, but only, you know, I think it was a lie. I never actually proved it was a lie. I never found out what the truth was.
And maybe we did get the truth from Jen Sodto when she talked about, and I know it's funny to hear Jen Sodto's name and truth, but when Jen Sodto told us about her worst nightmare being the Woody Allen situation, I think they were in that predicament already. I think that she felt like Maddie was in that predicament with Stephan, and that's where the jealousy came in. All right. That's where it came in. Yeah, if you guys have questions, ask it to me. And then if she wants to answer, she can. But I don't want anybody in chat. Doesn't matter if it's Carolina or Sadie's mama. I don't want people to ask questions like all day, just blah, blah, blah. We're streaming here, and I want to stay semi on topic. So you're good. You're good, Val. You're being respectful, and I appreciate that. All right. I do appreciate that. Jay, I met you on the other channel, watched by, Beyond the Evidence. You did. All right, let's keep going. I want to get this over so we can give away. I'm already like, this has gone on too much.
Your ex-girlfriend's daughter's birthday seemed weird. Talking about how they had a real strong connection. That seems weird to me now. Also, the like living there while they were, that always just seemed weird to me. You know, but nothing ever came up about teenage girls or young children ever. I would have never ever suspected that. She already called the Kissimmee police department too, because like the living there while they weren't together and them calling each other a couple seemed kind of weird to me, and kind of like I don't know, is it a story?
Well, it is weird that she's saying that.
Did she know? Did she know they were doing stuff? And was the daughter gonna get get both of them in trouble?
So we finish off there with the great question. Was there anything that when you were sitting around going, oh yeah, what about this? And he says, mostly, yeah, that cougar thing. Now, mostly that cougar thing, that means the cougar thing was the very top thing there. Then he goes on to describe the communication with Madeline. So it was mostly the cougar thing, which basically was someone saying, I'm not interested in this woman. Like, that happens all the time. So it was mostly that. And then we go into the communication with Madeline, and he describes Madeline differently, a lot of distance there. The being with, the communication with the ex-girlfriend's daughter. The being what? He doesn't finish that thought again. He pulls out of it and says something else. The being with the communication with the ex-girlfriend's daughter. Really, she's called Madeline.
I'll leave that up for a second because we know where we're going. I've never played this video on my channel, and I know that I never played this video because I am not a fan of the man that's talking in it, and he did this interview exclusively with Frank, so I've never played it. The reason I'm playing it now is because we're going through a truer word, and so I thought this would be really good to take a look at again in hindsight, knowing all the things we know now. Back then we were trying to piece it together. And that should be the comment of the day right there, Denise. For Jen to mention Woody Allen comment, she felt something already and ignored it. She needs to be held accountable, and for a lot more than that, guys. But I got to tell you, I think that she was spot on about the Woody Allen comment. And I don't think Stephan has ever really denied that. I mean, he knows my purpose in this case, and he did not deny the fact that he wrote that "I love you" poem, Maddie, the Maddie poem, where it says "You died in my arms." I can't remember the exact words, but that poem was for Maddie, and he died the day she did. He's never not admitted that, and I feel like he had something with just particular thing with Maddie for years. All right. So I absolutely think that was the comment of the day there. And thank you so much, April, Illinois, for the $3 super sticker. You know you're supporting the channel. We're about to give something away, guys. Yeah, with one nugget of truth, Jennifer Sodto's the Woody Allen. And if you talk to anybody that's an interrogator, that is the number one question they ask a mother, is what their biggest fear is, to try to understand if they knew what was happening. And bingo, she gave the number one fear. It was exactly what was happening. How do you explain that? Because you can't explain that. Exactly what was happening in the household all the way up until the time Maddie's life was taken and that poem was written. And Stephan is never denied. He never denied the CSAM. He never denied the relationship. Again, it's not a relationship because Maddie wasn't of age to consent, but he never has denied what him and Maddie were even doing together, or I should say what he did to Maddie. He has some kind of something with Maddie. And even after Maddie's death, I almost think that his protection of Jen has something to do with his allegiance to Maddie. I just can't shake that feeling that it's not Jen that he has a thing with, that it has to do with Maddie. Yeah, red flags. Yeah, of course. That too, right? All right. All right, let's wrap this up so we can give away Arrest Jen Sodto gear.
Strange thing about were they a couple, weren't they a couple? He's never been very clear with all of that in his timeline. I don't know, is it a story? What is weird is she's saying that, and he says, did she know? This is Jen, I think. Did she know? Did she know they were doing stuff? And was the daughter going to get, get the both of them in trouble? Interesting way of phrasing it. It wouldn't be the daughter that got them in trouble. It would be the behavior that got him in trouble. It would be the adults that got in trouble, not the daughter. But does he know something a little bit more there? Did she know? Did she know they were doing stuff? And was the daughter going to get, get both of them in trouble? Interesting ways of phrasing it. In that last section that we looked at there, just more weirdness coming through. Seemed weird. I think more curation as well of him cherry picking what it is that he's going to tell us about Stephan Stearns. And does he know more? Does he know more? Does Frank know more about what was going on in Stephan Stearns? So there we go. We've had a listen to Stephan Stearns as described by his friend Frank.
I would say Frank probably didn't know more until he started thinking about it, and in hindsight, and maybe he did feel a certain way and he didn't bring that up. Maybe he felt a certain way because he said it. He's like, why would he go over there for a woman that he's not even with, et cetera, right? So what's up, Montana Mystic? How you doing? All right, guys, we're about to give away Arrest Jen Sodto something. I don't know exactly what it's going to be because Tiff's going to be giving it away, but it's some kind of Arrest Jen Sodto merch. You have to have liked the video, probably commented in order to get into the YouTube comment picker. So I'm going to give you just a second, guys. I'm giving you a second. If you haven't written a comment and you're just in the background lurking, you might want to say something. And if you are already a member of the Guilty of Crime crew, that's all you need. All right. Hit that like, make a comment, and have a membership. All right. All right. I'm going to do that. Tiff says I'm still working on one design, but I'll send you a picture when it's all together. Right. Yes. I need to see what we're giving out. I don't know, but we'll check it out. All right. So, woo, Rosie, how do you not have green anymore? All right. Good luck to everyone, guys. Thank you, Kat. I appreciate you. See something, say something, do something. Hashtag Arrest Jen Sodto. All right, guys. We're going to give something away, and then I'm out of here. All right. Fingers crossed. Comments drop. Like buttons. I'm always in the background. Oh my God. Wasn't Follow the Yellow Brick Road the one that came in and asked, but you don't have a membership, my friend? That one I do know because I saw Follow the Yellow Brick Road, and you told me who you were in an email, but we got to go to the next one, guys, because I don't think that she has a membership. She's not green. Nope, she's not green. Look at that. No green, no bueno. All right, we're going to roll again, guys. You got to be a YouTube member. I can't do it. Follow the Yellow Brick Road. I am glad you got picked, but I can't because you're not a member. I'm sorry. All right, we're going to go back and respin. You got to be a Guilty of Crime member, guys, because the people that are members support the channel financially, and that helps me to pay all the stuff for the website, etc. All right, One Love, I think already won, and I don't know if she has a membership. I don't think so. I think One Love, we can't do that yet. I'm gonna put that up, but we didn't get a winner yet, guys. I don't think One Love. Oh, you are. She is, but when's the last time you got a box, One Love? So she is. She's qualified. As long as you didn't just get one in the last 2 times, I think we could do that. You do what? You're a member for sure. But did you just recently get a box? Can someone tell me if One Love recently got a box? All right, guys. I'm going to spin it again and see what. I mean, if not, then it's One Love. I just want to make sure that we're not giving them the same thing away to the same people all the time, guys. One Love One Love Callie thought you won. Aw. All right, so One Love won a June Foxy box and is a winner. All right, I guess so. I never win. Winner here. I'm waiting for is a member. All right, what are we doing here, guys? I need your guidance, mods. So One Love did get a June box. That was a month ago. Shall we give it to somebody else? Or shall we just give her another one? I just want more people to have the opportunity. Is that okay? All right, I'm gonna go again since if you guys keep winning over and over, I want to share the love, and we do love you, One Love, but it's an experience to get one of these packages, and I want everybody to have an opportunity. So I'm gonna go ahead and spin it again, guys. Thank you, One Love. I appreciate you. You're a good sport. Sometimes and Jen's a Gypsy did too. Jen's a Gypsy, same thing. I'm gonna redrop this again. Let's do it. I'm gonna pull this out because I'm pretty sure that. I'm just gonna redo the whole thing real quick. I don't know why it picks the same people over and over, but it seems to. All right, so we're gonna one more time, guys. One more time. I don't know why it does that, but we're not gonna do that here. All right. And One Love got an epic Foxy box. Everybody that's got a Foxy box absolutely loves them. All right. All right. And let's go. One more time, guys. One more time. Janet. Welcome, Janet Clemens. Shout out to you. All right. Don't pick the same people. All right. Mama Sage. Is Mama Sage a member? I mean, a Guilty of Crime member. Does she have a green membership? And shout out to our new folks. All right. I do not think Mama Sage has a green on her, but you guys got to tell me. I'm waiting on y'all. All right. We got 259 people here. Do me a favor, hit that like button so we can get up there. I don't know, guys. Where's Mama Sage? Mama Sage. She is a member. All right, there we go then. Mama Sage, you're the winner of the next. See, Jen's a Gypsy got sent snail mail. You're a winner all the time. Congratulations, Mama Sage. Do me a favor. You don't think so? Wait, why is everybody saying she is? I don't know, guys. Let me know what I'm going to do here. I'm ready to go, y'all. Can someone let me know if Mama Sage is a... All right, well, congrats, Mom. All right, well, here we go, guys. I don't know what to... All right, so here it is. I don't see Mama Sage in chat. Everybody's saying she is. Regardless, we're going to give it to Mama Sage. If she does not pick it up, if she does not claim the prize in 3 days, she is a member. So congratulations, Mama Sage. Please email guiltyofcrime.merch@gmail.com. You got 48 hours to claim your prize. Oh, she also got a Oh, this is rough, guys. What? Foxy, when did she get a Foxy box? All right, screw it. We're going to give it to Mama Sage. Mama Sage is here, and she's a member. guiltyofcrime.merch@gmail.com. She's going to go ahead and get a hashtag arrest Jen Sodto. That's it. I gave it away too many times. I don't remember when the last time she got it, but that's it, guys. I'm done. I love you guys. Mama Sage, don't forget to email guiltyofcrime.merch@gmail.com. You have 2 days to do that. And she says she never got a Foxy box. So there we go. I'm done anyway. I just want to make sure that different members, we all share the love. So congratulations. Thank you guys for being here. We've been here for 2 hours and 4 minutes. I'm wiped out. I also have got a feral children cold. As you can tell, I have not even cut my hair. You know how I do. All right, I'll see you guys. I'm going to go get some rest. Hang out with baby Guilty. I love you guys. Hug your loved ones and each other. Good night. I'll see you tomorrow. Don't forget, tomorrow is going to be a call-in show, and we're talking about Jen Sodto. Did she clean up that crime scene? Did she help clean up the crime scene? And how do we know by the words that she used with law enforcement that she helped clean up the crime scene, which would make her culpable also for Maddie's death? All right. Good night. Love you guys. Peace out.
Guilty of crime.
I want to thank you for watching. If you enjoyed my content, please share this video, like, and subscribe. You can also follow me over at Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, or Gmail. If you'd like to donate to my channel, you can use Cash App or Venmo or PayPal. Thank you very much in advance. Guilty of crime.
Are you guilty of crime?